Oh, look at that. Wow, yeah, no, we only missing Rich, huh? Not Rich.
Where's the town meeting? It's gonna be here or at the Grange?
I would imagine it's at the high school, right? Auditorium?
But the
Or
town meeting?
Or at the town hall.
It's at the town hall on
Town hall.
477, whatever that address is over there, by the Grange.
All set?
All set.
Okay, I call the meeting, the East Haddam Planning and Zoning Department for June 25th. Can we have the attendance, please?
Craig Brownell,
Here.
James Curtin,
Here.
Kevin Matthews,
Here.
Harvey Thomas,
Here.
Bernard Gillis,
Here.
Louis Salacrup,
Here?
Ed Govins,
Here.
Richard Pettinelli, absent, and Jose. Here. Rich just was getting out of work as the meeting started, so.
He might be late now.
Yeah, he,
Where is he, down in Haven or something?
Yeah, done that way. Okay, minutes of our past meeting, June 11th. Anyone?
I read them over and you didn't find anything.
Okay. Bernie?
No.
No. Okay, it's minutes as they are. Bills?
I
got
was
one.
just given one, today for Suburban for $193.93 for supplies.
Motion to pay the bill?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, no acknowledgements?
None.
Okay, discussion, plan of conservation development.
Okay, so I emailed it, but I'll hand out copies of the executive summary. If you got one with a green tag in it, it's probably mine, but not the end of the world.
Got enough of them?
Yeah, I'll send another one that way. I think that's enough, we'll see. There we go.
Get a color version. Did you have a chance to go online and look at this? I didn't, but. Bernie, did you have a chance to look at it?
Yeah, look,
No.
yeah, I did.
No, okay, yeah.
It's like you covered everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like I said, I didn't have a chance to look
No,
at
I
it, so.
emailed it to you.
Oh, you did.
I know.
19
That's
pages.
the last thing when you get home you wanna
My
look
wife
at.
didn't tell me
Today, right?
anything
Or
about it.
was it
Yesterday.
yesterday?
Yesterday,
Yeah.
Monday afternoon.
All good?
Hmm?
All good?
Yeah, it covers all the main points and
Plus on pictures, and we don't know what the print says.
Is it
Short on contact.
Name.
Contact.
She used to know they're still around.
That's a useful thing to be.
seems to be.
Red Mill Bridge, that was familiar.
Okay, so where are we sitting? We, with the plan of conservation development at this point? We have,
So we have a public hearing on July 27th here in the regular scheduled meeting. I was going to forward the executive executive summary to as many of the boards and commissions as possible and let them know that the full plan of conservation development is on the East Haddam webpage, right on the front page, and that there is a public hearing on July 27th, and their input is, and then maybe I'm gonna try to get the paper to write an article about it, so that we could have people show up. Now that we have the summary, I know people will, as we all talked about, they're willing to read the summary, but maybe not delve into the full one as much, but, you know, we can try.
okay, do you have that letter that the Economic Development Commission had sent us?
Yes.
Question.
Excuse me.
Oh, Grove Street, I haven't seen the finished look. Wow. Grove Street, finished
Oh.
look, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't been up there lately?
Nah, I mean,
He's almost on his last unit now.
no kidding.
These are the two outstanding things to go over right now, correct, for Plan of Conservation Development.
Yep.
Do you have anything else written there
Everything's colored.
for us? No.
Just give me a second.
Except what
Or actually, no. It's still here,
Nancy,
Ted.
Nancy sent us
No,
a copy
this
and
one.
I printed
I
it
don't have to
out.
go anywhere.
He didn't say the same thing.
No pun intended.
Mr. Kazner, would you like to add anything to your letter?
No, basically, I just, would like to see, the expansion of the sewer line included in the plan of conservation and development. Because basically, what that's doing is giving us the opportunity to apply for grants. If this isn't in the plan, it really hinders any possibility of getting grants. And I think that's what we're looking to do. I think we're seeing the expansion around the Four Corners area. I think there can be more. And I think what is happening here is as you get into any businesses that's gonna be food service, it's very difficult to do anything without basically having sewers. And I think we're going to basically limit ourselves, and especially if you just take the right on the Four Corners itself, that's 7 acres that's sitting right there. If you look at that parcel, it's got great potential, but the problem is you don't have enough room for buildings and square footage and do septic systems on the site. And we're looking to do, and certainly the Plan of Conservation Development was directing us, was to basically try to get that into retail rather than warehouse. So I think that we're probably at a crossroads here. We've got a committee set up that's gonna be looking at the Four Corners. We're gonna be looking at that spot right there also to see whether we could recommend any changes there, being that really somehow make it so that we would like to see commercial there rather than the industrial. I think we want to see something that's pleasant to the eye, something that on that corner will basically give our tourists someplace to go. And so I think from the standpoint of the development there, it needs it. I think that the commission would really like to see the sewer expansion, the possibility of it existing there. It's a long time, it's 10 years we're talking about here. And why close the door for no good reason? Let's leave the door open and let's see what we can do. And we're looking to do something with the grant list. It looks like the private investment is around the Four Corners. On those Four Corners, we've got something going on every single one of them. And this is where private money is being willing to invest. So I think we need, as the community, to show that we're also interested in doing something to promote it. And so I think that that's kind of where the EDC is, that let's do everything we can from the community standpoint to show that we would like the best quality stuff we can get. Otherwise, I don't think that any property owner who owns that corner parcel is gonna give up industrial, because that's what he's going to have to use if we don't show any interest in basically bringing a sewer line up there. You don't have a choice. You're gonna have to put basically warehousing on that corner. And from the standpoint of economic development, that's the last thing I wanna see in that corner. I would really like to see commercial on that corner, and something that's one of our key corners. That corner, and basically, we're calling this our tourist area right up there. So that's everything from Goodspeed to the castle. And that's the straightaway right there. And it's got good sight lines. It's got all the things that we look for. Corner lot, good sight lines, high traffic count. That's the best we got to work with. So I'd like to see us kind of encourage the expansion of the sewer line up in that area.
Now, the only problem with the language, what'd you have in there originally? Something about looking into the possibility of having it done?
Yeah, that's all, just as long as you have it in there, that's
Because,
all.
I mean, the whole conflict has been that the guys in the industrial park really don't want it. because they're like another monthly bill for something we don't need. That's always been the criticism that I hear is, those guys in the industrial park don't want it. I mean, that's,
Not only that, but just the flat cost of running the
But
line
you've got
from.
a problem here, as I understand it, that the Water Pollution Control Authority, which has jurisdiction over this, has accepted the state's point of view that all of the town except East Haddam Village is a sewer avoidance district. And so my thoughts,
Where was that?
where is what?
I don't remember hearing or reading that anywhere.
That's
It's in the state plan of conservation.
It's in the
state
state's plan.
And it's also in our 2008 plan.
Well,
And
that's,
it's-
sorry,
and it's-
2008, which we're
And it
redoing,
is the
so.
WPCA's,
Authority.
authority, and they've looked at it, and we, not to beat a dead horse to death, but the cost of, we've gone through twice, the cost of running the line up there, and then the cost to the existing business that would be there if they were added onto it. And with the new technologies we're coming up with now, Jim, we can fit 3 times the amount of septic
no,
in the
it's,
spot
yeah,
that
they're
before
getting a
was-
little, finally getting a little clever about it.
and-
But what's language that is a problem for us to say? If you look into the possibility of doing it, that doesn't amount to crap, does it?
Somehow I think it was mentioned in here.
Could I make a,
Sure, go
could I
ahead.
have a
Mark.
suggestion for discussion?
It's in there.
It would seem to me that the sensible thing to say, from my perspective, is that to recognize that the Economic Development Commission and the Water Pollution Control Authority ought to put their heads together and determine whether or not this is feasible and desirable. Something along those lines.
Well, I think you're right, Joe, it is here.
Right.
Page 19, the town's EDC identifies multiple opportunity areas for commercial/industrial expansion in the Muda Center and Four Corners, parentheses, Town Street, Mount Parnassus, Norridge Road, Industrial Park, and is contemplating the need for a sewer expansion and the pursuit of grants for potential fund expansion. That covers it.
Do you
We
need,
talked about that.
do you need more than that or not? What do you
No,
need?
basically, if that is in there,
That's
and
in
that's
there.
gonna be, stay in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, we weren't taking that out.
Okay, good.
that we did the yin and the yang thing. I think we talked about this 3 months ago.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But I would You want to add something sort of no, I like the language as it is. I would push the suggestion that in order to move the ball forward, it would, from where I sit, make eminently good sense for the EDC and the Water Pollution Control Authority to jointly take a look and between them make some thoughts as to what would be feasible, what would be desirable, what would the costs be, what would the cost to existing businesses be, blah, 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 the whole 9 yards.
I think that's.
Otherwise, you're just,
I think it's an
bumping
excellent
ahead.
idea,
But-
and certainly EDC would be.
We just did that.
I thought so.
Just did that. How long ago, Kevin?
2
years
three,
ago?
maybe 4 now.
We went through
That was who? That wasn't economic development, that
No,
was
it was
us.
EDC.
We did it.
It was
No,
a
it was
coordination.
EDC. He was
part of it, correct.
Yeah.
It was EDC,
It was a joint.
PMZ, and a couple of WPCA members.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did Mudis and the
We
Four
did
Corners
both of
area.
them. We have a
Then-
spreadsheet. of-
Then it was such a good suggestion, it's already been done.
I mean, we have-
And
we
you're
have-
taking
No,
credit.
we didn't do it with water pollution control.
No.
And
Well,
I
Rich
think
Pettinelli
that
just-
on-
They should be, a
Well,
part
well,
of.
it wouldn't hurt to go over the ground again.
Yeah, oh, no.
Well, to get language in there that says we're looking at the possibility of doing it, doesn't seem very threatening to
And
me.
we
So,
have-
I mean,
Well,
that's
that's
already
in
in there. If
there.
that's
It's in
good
there.
enough, then
Okay, that's in there and
Okay.
that's
That's
gonna
in there.
stay in.
that's not
I didn't
forcing us
strike
to
it
either
out.
do it or not do it.
Okay, that's the May 12th?
May 12th, yeah.
But Bob, how do you ever expect to get grants
Okay, 19.
for expansion of sewer from the state if the state plan of conservation and development
Says no.
Because it goes,
discourages?
the grants that we're looking at are not from the state. They're basically other sources. And there are some grants out there for small projects, a $5 million project, that there are grants out there for. And so I think that it definitely is we've got to just be able to do it and just take and get the grants to do it. Because obviously the grants are the deciding factor to bring it
Oh,
into
yeah.
line to make it affordable.
Absolutely.
And, so, I mean, we're looking at it from the standpoint of it being affordable, but also when you go to build a new building and a new restaurant, or you take the town tavern and they have to put in a new septic system, the numbers are huge. They're you know, we're talking $100,000, $150,000. Well, where does that kind of money
I'm
come
looking
from?
for that job.
Does the WPPCA have authority to not allow you to do that?
They are it is one of the few times when you look at statutory language, that is why they have the word authority at the end. It's not commission, it's not, it's authority. It's really, and it was kind of set up that way because what they didn't want, the state didn't want in the establishment, they didn't want other commissions, boards, and especially town councils and selectmen budgets running the budget from safe production of sewer water, to clean water.
But their position, is it that we cannot, under any circumstances, bring sewers here, or is it a recommendation?
No, here's, right now, the way the DEP operates is they're the final say as to whether we expand into a sewer area. They actually do have that. But it would come from a recommendation of the WP to expand it. DEP, right now, has grant opportunities if you have known failures. They're spending all their money on failures. That's why we went through all of the systems that are out there to analyze each and every one, find out what their capacity is, find out what their building capacity, and if the land has the mass to handle it. And we didn't come up with any failures. They were there. So that right there shoots us in the foot because you say you're going to run an extension to there with no known failures. The other part about it is that after a sewer system's in, then everybody, as Jim said, everybody who has to hook up has to then start paying an annual fee for something that they already have. So you take the restaurant, which has a fairly new system. Chris Bell designed it back in late 90s?
I don't know about theirs. I
For the
was not involved.
corner
in that.
restaurant?
I
Yeah.
haven't seen
So
it.
they
I
have a
don't
new
know.
system, so they pay for pump outs for the grease trap and for that. It comes nowhere near the EDU, which is the equivalent dwelling factor of the number of seats in there and what their cost would. I mean, if you told the restaurant that their cost could be $5,000 to $7,000 after they already have a system in, I might get shot.
But
Well,
one of the things though that comes up is, what he's talking about is when you consider expansion, that's when you need the sewer. I mean, to status quo right now, sure, everybody can just stand still but if you're talking about any kind of expansion of economic development,
Well,
that corner's not going too far.
no, I mean, but
Commercially there's
Bernstein's-
not much you can do there
Well,
without sewers.
Bernstein's piece, you can do something with
Oh,
Bernstein's piece.
that's 3 lots though.
That's 3 lots,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm
And-
not saying he can't do
and
something with it.
And the
but-
other industrial pieces in there, we gotta remember that Harry owns a building up there that has a septic capacity for 68 employees, and it's a warehouse right now.
Oh,
So
that's
one of the
old
other
print
innovative
shop.
things is if somebody needs we could pump it to a community system if so need, but the need has.
There aren't a lot of good soils anywhere near that area though.
No,
I mean, there's,
So, can planning and zoning strongly recommend if it got to a point for the WPC to, to help
Well,
us
we can bring
in
the
an
minutes
economic
back and I can
development,
give it
if
to
we start
Mike,
getting
but,
crunched out like that?
Too bad Rich wasn't here, but we.
Plus, aren't we updating this every year or every few years, this
Right.
plan? So if
Yeah.
things get, if you're moving things along.
But that language
Make
is
it-
enough to enable a grant.
Wanna read it, Bob?
Understood, he's got something to hang his
You
hat
wanna
on.
read it?
I read it last night, so but I
Okay.
was under the indication that was changing.
No.
And,
So,
I wonder why you got that. That's the first I heard of it.
all right, okay. No, so that language is enough to cover, I think, the grant applications. And then I think that Harvey's suggestion of working with water pollution control is an excellent one. And I think maybe between the 3 of us, we can look at what the possibilities are and see what we can do that would open up basically some opportunities. So an area where basically the opportunities, it looks like that's where the opportunities are going to be. When you see what Staley's are doing, and you've got Scully doing it, you've got Shagbark doing it. There's a lot of activity going on around this area.
Well,
And-
Staley's a little far from Four Corners to be tying that in.
And they have a ton of land, so if they can't find a septic
I'm
system.
just saying, you know,
the
they're
same thing
they're
with
another half
Shagbark
mile
has
down
a
the
ton of
road.
But
land.
he's saying economic development wise, there's a lot more activity in that area, so there
No, I
may be
realize
more
that.
opportunities for maybe a restaurant or something that's.
That's what it comes down to, it's
Isn't
any
it-
kind of food service. That's
Right, the restaurant that really needs the bulk of the, you know, that would need a sewer up there, I mean, retail really wouldn't involve.
Retail doesn't, but anytime you get food service.
And
Yeah, food
so
service.
it's really the food service, the only thing that we're looking at that would prompt us to really have to look at bringing a sewer up there.
And that's what you have to use as an anchor.
But office,
Office is not sort
buildings,
of stuff.
retail buildings, anything else, I mean, there's plenty of opportunities there. The only thing there's no opportunity right now is for a restaurant. So if you're putting all your eggs in the basket of just getting a restaurant there, I think you gotta think about other avenues also.
Right, but that's usually your anchor. And without that, it's very difficult to have basically a tourist attraction area. You're basically talking food service of some kind that in that area. And so it's the first thing everyone looks for. And we're looking at it from the standpoint of that 250,000 people going to that castle. And we're not getting any money out of that. That money is just going right back out of town. And somehow we've got to come up with a plan to basically jingle some money out of those pockets that are just coming into town and going right back out again. Because we don't have anything to offer. And that's what's happened in the Goodspeed. We don't have anything to offer. That money is sitting there and we don't have anything to offer. And so we've got to take and offer them something that they want. And basically, they don't want an office. That's not what they want. Food service is what you can sell. Wineries you can sell. Basically, it's something that will attract the tourism market.
Yep.
So I think that's where we're coming from. But I think with that language, it'll give us something to work with. And so long as that's staying in there, it'll be in your final draft, and I think EDC will be happy.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, anything else on plan
No,
conservation
I'll
vote?
kick out notifications and notices and, no, winery's not as bad as breweries do. They need help in here.
Well, that tasting room's got itself one, I'm about to put it in, that's one big septic system. That's huge.
That's
I don't know
one for
why it's so
Staley?
huge, but it is big.
Yeah, what's going on with Sale? How come they're not open
They're
yet?
just not open yet because it took them that long to get the building renovated and stuff.
Is that what it was?
What are we
And they're gonna
talking-
be open by, I think they said August 1st.
August 1st.
Okay, so another month.
What are we talking about?
Who is this?
That's
This is the tasting room
Staley's.
for Staley's.
Oh,
Payco.
Staley's.
Now, that's just wine, no food, correct?
Cheese crackers.
Cheese and crackers or something.
Simple
they're
fruit.
packaged things, I think.
Which, of course, I had to go to the Department of Health with the WUC, the Water Utility Coordinating Committee, and they were on the agenda along with 7 other items. And of course, some of the big water companies, started complaining that why are we allowing these little separate water companies to form when they ought to be on a water line? And Peter Hughes and I, representing municipalities with not a lot of infrastructure, had to and I did, so I'm the bad guy. I first chastised the state for requiring them to go through that process because they're, washing fruit, cutting cheese, and, crackers and serving wine. He said, that's disproportionate from the amount of work you have to go through for the DPUC to get this permitting. And the second part was, I said, and you guys are always unwilling to extend your lines even when they're 1,000 feet down the road. The big companies, they're like, oh, no, and I said, you're the ESA provider, so you're supposed to provide water. It unfortunately got me shoved onto a subcommittee with all 3 of them, so hash this out. So we are gonna talk about it though, because
They don't look for opportunities to expand their lines?
they are very reluctant to expand their lines at all unless the developer is willing to pay from point A to point B. Even though the way it's written up, They have exclusive rights, and they're also very unwilling to operate satellite systems, which they should. Because the complaint about the satellite system is that 7-Eleven's a satellite system, and nobody's there to operate and maintain it and take care of it. They claim that everybody that's out there is a subcontractor is a hack, which isn't exactly correct. But there are some problem areas.
Well, nobody's dying, so I
But
guess it's not that bad.
exactly. So you know what my kick to it was is that you make an exercise place get a water company status, yet everybody brings bottled water. Your dentist, okay, I understand. You're serving coffee and food, I understand. But these up, we have fountain there. I bet you they look at the ticker and how much water's drinking out of that thing. It's the fountain. It's low.
Oh.
But because we have over 25 people, 60 days a year, we're a water company.
Are they, they don't wanna expand because their wells being able to keep up, or?
No, they don't want to expand
But
because
where did we get from there to we're talking about Staley?
Staley's. Well, Staley's a small system that should have been separated, never brought into the play of being a water company.
Okay.
That's
Would
what
they be
I'm
able
gonna-
to actually serve like dining there?
Well, first place, their zoning regulations at this point don't allow it because they're a residential zone and they're going off the winery thing. They don't have it. It's not a restaurant. So I said the natural progression was you can't spot zone, so you better hope at some time we do mixed use all the way down the road so that, then it's
Even
not
though
a-
Hale and Hardy used to be where the historical society was. So
That was, Corey, that was my argument 15 years ago.
So,
Well,
I mean-
but don't forget, remember when we had that thing in the gym and the people talked about changing it to a mixed-use zone out on 82, everybody went, oh my God, that's terrible, you're gonna ruin it,
No, I know.
when it was obviously.
It already is a
And
mixed
get that,
zone,
before
right.
Hale and Hardy was there, it was a bar, the whole time I was a kid.
That was a bar?
Yes.
I see, I was too young.
That
I don't
explains
remember
a
that.
lot.
Silver Lane,
Okay.
that whole building in the front, that was a bar the whole time I was a
Okay.
kid.
Okay.
But now it's like, if you try to open up a bar out there, you'd be ruining the whole.
I mean, that would go along with the economic development of being able to have more restaurants you have in an area, the more people you start pulling in. Competition is always good. That's why Chester does so well.
So
Exactly. And you have a variety of
Well,
different
that's what you
ones.
want.
And that's what you want. And I think
So-
that's what, this subcommittee that we're setting up that's what we're looking at, is just what are the
Now,
possibilities.
who's on that committee from here?
Me
Okay.
And Joe.
and Joe.
Who would do it?
Okay. So,
So, basically, we're looking at it, the possibilities, what we can do there, what we can find, and bring back our.
now would that be considered spot zoning, even though just if you come
the
out?
proposal we had 15 years ago, and I got beaten to death.
15.
Yeah, it has to be at least. 'Cause
I
Emmett
think I was on the. Wow.
we brought it up for discussion just amongst planning and zoning was to look at it as a mixed use zone all the way down to River Road. And of course, the same fears back then were the same fears I heard at the public hearing. Well, as soon as you say the word commercial, they interpret it to mean that there's going to be a gas station, a
Walmart.
7-Eleven, there's going to be neon lights, and so, and realistically, if a presentation's ever made for a zone change, the architectural component of it has to be first, the use is second, so people see it up front. Because when I talked to Joe, and he's like,
Janison.
you're gonna have flashing lights and everything else. I said, no.
That's when we were fighting those neon lights at Santa Bells.
We spoke about that last
Well,
night.
one of the people complaining
Exactly
was
that.
Mac
Same
Linden,
That
right
we
across
did,
from Staley's.
some of us
Right.
didn't
I'm
want.
like, look what's across the
No.
street from your house, what the hell are you worried about? I mean, could it get any busier than
Right.
that place?
Right.
And the answer is no, not even close, but he was all like, oh my God, that's gonna ruin everything, I'm like,
But It's
You live right across the
the
street from
it's the commercial. They
oh
think
yeah,
it's,
I mean, they saw it as a
they
disaster.
interpret it as going to be
It's mixed use, it's not commercial.
right. So
Which is different.
Stop using commercial.
Yeah, and I think if the architectural requirements were put on some light retail business as opposed to a warehouse-looking building,
Right.
it's much more eye-appealing.
Oh, there's no
And-
doubt we'd prefer it
Yeah.
over a warehouse like on the corner. If all of Bernstein's 3 lots become individual warehouses, well,
That's
that's not
ugly.
gonna help us much. Because there's nothing attractive about that.
No. Okay, anything else on this whole subject? Okay, cemeteries.
So first, I'll ask is
Unless, Bob, you have something else you needed to add?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
You are.
who doesn't have a copy of what I handed out last? Okay.
I don't know.
You need one too?
Yes.
All right.
You got plenty there. I thought you might have done something different.
I did.
Oh, okay. So do we all have to get new ones now?
Now, this is
Oh.
different.
You got an extra one there, John?
This is the one done by Carl,
Yeah.
okay?
Do you have one for my son here?
Coming. So,
Am I in the will?
so that being said, I also said I'd get you 5, but I said, oh, who's kidding who?
You did them all?
I did them all, because once you open the program and start shifting
Yeah.
around, it's just easier to do it that way. So what this is, based on Carl's numbering, it's the same numbering,
Okay.
and it's a GIS map with the topography and,
So do you have copies? Okay,
no, this is,
that's fine.
yeah, but this is different, so send it down.
Jim, just out of curiosity,
Yeah.
has anybody ever asked Carl how he arrived at this numbering system?
No, no, I let it
You
go.
couldn't figure it out either, huh?
I got a call
Back
to
and
him,
forth
but he didn't
going,
get
what
back
are
to
these
me.
numbers?
You know where it was prompted from? Is the 2008 Plan of Conservation Development said
List
we
of
need
cemeteries.
we need a better list and catalog of you, and I'll tell you what, he cranked it out in no time, and he presented it to me and said, here you go.
Oh, good for him.
You know, so we
yeah.
should appreciate that.
It's a great start, that's for sure.
You know,
Well, yeah, it's perfect to start.
and so each one shows the property. I've got the 2016 overlay. It has topography, streams. The red in most of these is the wetland outline because of the overlay for wetlands would crowd up everything. So that's kind of the wetland boundary based on the soil conservation map. Some of these plots are small, so I kind of highlighted them in green or red or purple. And then on the ones that had better soils around it, I labeled it the Cantons and the Charltons and those type of soils that are, you know, a little bit better. Some of them are built in some Woodbridge, which is high water table.
I know, I was just looking at the Smith Road, number 12, and
That would
oh,
clearly,
Woodbridge.
clearly need a
That's a,
drain.
that's a borderline
Oh, man.
place. I
Yeah.
always thought that was probably wet or close to it.
Because, I mean, it's a perfect place
Well,
to expand.
they're only 5 feet deep over there. But there is the possibility of putting like, you know, as I was thinking about, you have very uniform terrain around your cemetery. A big drain would work there and everything down gradient's gonna dry right out. I mean, you can make that happen if somebody wants, if the town wants to spend money or something.
If I wanna open it up.
Or if you wanted to do that.
Well,
And, oh. I think I was supposed to give you, I think I have copies of alternative.
There are some pieces of land all around some of these cemeteries,
Oh,
though,
okay.
it's possible. I looked at that
Possible.
Tater Hill one,
Ten or
around the
just-
corner there, and just on the
Yeah.
other side of the wall.
Nothing's gonna happen out
Probably could be used for a little more.
So they're outlined in
Dry.
purple.
Some are, some aren't.
Old Cove, no limited, right?
Oh, that's the best soil in town, Old Cove.
Yeah, so.
But again, that's a private association.
It is, but I'm just saying, if somebody wanted to
What
say,
number is
okay. Oh, that's down by Blastich?
no, wouldn't, Oak
Oh, I
Grove.
don't know, it was 14.
Yeah. But that's some of the oldest plots in town.
It
so
is, but
you get to-
obviously you'd be a section away from it, I mean.
They said if you stacked them in perfectly, you can get 1,200 to an acre. I find that hard to believe.
Get how many?
1,200, it was a weird, I'm like, that just seems way too many per an acre.
I think so.
1,200.
So I was
Well,
gonna
don't
do-
forget, you have to be 10 feet
Hmm.
for the rows unless you're doing,
Well, they also said 8 feet,
Where's
and
the
I said, that
cemetery
just
here?
doesn't
I'm-
make
I'm
sense.
missing
That's
well, Carl told me
like
when you lay it out,
church.
10 feet. That's the
Shouldn't
norm.
be outlined.
Yeah.
It's all
Between.
this, yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah, between the rows.
Okay.
And each burial plot is a 10-foot wide, but.
That will vary
Long,
whatever,
anyway.
well, normally, you know, they're like, I think he
5?
said like 4 to 5 feet,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I don't know why they're.
But then
Yeah,
it
I see the
changes
little
when you
stones
do,
now.
This is the church.
cremations.
It's, with the
Yeah,
ring.
cause you could have
You don't need
multiple
the 10
people in
feet.
the same place, yeah.
All right, thanks.
It's a little urn. and-
Be asking the director why he has.
Yeah.
cemetery.
Yeah. Now, I was wondering how you find the cemeteries. There's no like legends and,
Oh,
some have, you know.
well, we were gonna actually go through the first 5 and I was gonna describe it for you, and then I
okay.
realized some of this is so small, so I better start color coding them.
Okay, so let's start on number 1.
Number 1. Churchyard Cemetery in Hadline, right across the road from Clark Hill. Even though Carl has it down as an acre of land, there's kinda 0.6 acres of dry land up there.
Expansion ability is pretty limited in a strip maybe, right?
Yeah.
That
Maybe
would
the
be-
back side,
yeah.
the northwest, that's about it.
Yeah.
Starts dropping off on the back.
You have Revolutionary War soldiers buried in there.
No, no kidding.
Wow. That's something.
Yeah. They're the ones closest to the church.
Okay.
Okay, Harvey Moore Cemetery.
That is a tiny little cemetery, privately owned, on a section of what is Tater, it's actually
That's Tater Hill, actually.
That's Tater Hill, it's, but I can't change the
No.
naming on the computer, but it's Tater Hill. And right now, if you really have to go to Headland and walk up the road pathway, it looks like it's all private, but it's a very small.
Yeah, they're using it at
Where
Tater
on
Hill, they're using
Tater
it
Hill
as
is
the
that?
driveway, it's the connector between
yeah.
Headland.
The dead
No,
end.
Tater Hill used to come all the way out on
Yeah,
82 and
it's
it
a dead
goes
end.
all the way up to, top of Honey Hill.
Right.
That's that dead end section there. And
Oh,
that's,
okay.
But, this is one that's a possibility for a little bit of expansion if they were willing to turn it into some kind of a public thing
Right.
with conditions or whatever, I mean.
Top of the hill's
Some
got
of
some
these-
space, then they drop off.
I don't know how they could make
So
that
that's privately owned
financially,
also.
Yeah.
Okay.
how they could make that financially interesting.
How full is that?
There's only like 20 or so in there. It's very small.
But the land looks good around it. It's just out of the way, that's the problem.
Now, that belongs with the house across the street?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. It's their area.
Now, a cemetery like that, if there was a plot in there, they could use it? I mean, it's private,
Yeah, it's
just like
private.
yours, you can still
Well,
bury.
you have
it.
to go through the family or the association.
Yeah, but the family, you can still bury it in your cemetery.
Yeah, mine's still open.
Oh, here it is.
I haven't gotten in there yet.
Okay, then you're closing the door,
So, after that, maybe, you know, but,
right? All bets are off.
yeah. I guess there is possibility here. There is that whole lot next to it also for expansion. Whether or not, but that's actually a good house lot, if you don't mind living next to a cemetery.
And I take for the record, it's called Hungerford Cemetery, because this used to be Hungerford land prior to you
Yeah, that was
owning
the
it.
Hungerford Farm.
It is, well, Hungerford still own it.
Oh.
I'm a Hungerford,
Oh, okay.
That's the,
still in the family,
Oh, okay. All right.
so,
now, who in the family owns that? All the family owns the cemetery?
no, I do.
Oh,
Okay.
you do? Oh, okay. That valuable piece of land. Well, hey, it is what it is. That's one that is maybe seasonally wet and could be drained. That's
I was
one thing
always
that
told
could-
when you dig a hole and when you come into the next morning, it would be full.
I don't doubt that's perched high water, cause see how
Yeah.
flat that is up in that big field? Every
Yeah.
bit of that's soaking in and slowly traveling down to your pond, I mean.
Well, I
and to
know
the brook.
when they opened it up here, when I separated it from my sisters, right next, I had to put another entrance right next to the north side of the cemetery. When that stone wall was taken out, then it opened the floodgates
Oh, water bled right out of it.
right out of there onto
Yeah,
the
so
road.
that's pretty shallow.
So the water table was up high. That's
Well, that's one that is definitely a candidate for a drain then, because you do have a place to run it to
yeah,
and it's
Yeah.
not ledge, so.
correct. But right, but then you come in, then you get into the issue of, do you open it up? You know, and that's
Well, that's
a moral
strictly
issue and stuff.
something that you'd have to,
Right.
I don't know that there's any incentive. What would be an incentive for somebody like Rary to open this up to a public thing?
Unless he
Or
had
expand it. Why would
unless he had
anybody wanna do it?
100,000 relatives and they all wanted
No, but
it.
why,
No.
no, I mean, financially speaking, tax-wise or anything else, is there any advantage in opening up any of this?
Not really.
That's
So
maybe the
plots.
problem we're having right now.
Yeah, but, I don't know, that's not my thing.
It worked for Rose Hill and Rock.
Well, I mean, somehow you need to
Make it
encourage
up.
somebody to expand a cemetery. I mean, here's land that could be used, but why should he do it?
Well, you could sell plots.
Oh, you
Right,
could.
but then you have to
sell
turn
the
the,
plots, that's how, I mean, that's how these cemeteries, a private cemetery,
Yeah, but,
basically they sell off the lots. And that's where the revenue stream is coming from.
yeah, but how much can that be? Can it be quite a bit?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they have the care too,
Well,
they
you
have
need to look
annual
into that,
care.
correct.
That's,
to retire.
that's part of the
Right.
fee that basically
Yeah.
is care for the rest of time. And, so basically you've gotta put enough aside, so you've got a trust fund that is gonna kick off enough money to.
I got no one in there paying me.
Yeah.
We're already,
You gotta change the rules.
they get the freeloaders.
Come back up and write some checks.
Come on, Zachariah.
Now, all the land
William
around the
Ezekiel?
cemetery is not yours, or is it? The land around it?
Around it all is, yeah,
Yeah, yours too, okay.
yeah.
Oh, hey, you could be in the cemetery business.
Well, see, you go, your natural progression would be to go south,
Gonna get rich.
right
Right.
up to that, because there's a stone wall that runs right
Oh,
there.
okay, well,
But
that's what
like I
you
said,
wanna
that,
do.
there's a, that right there is actually a beautiful house.
Well, it would be, yeah, that's why it's gotta be worth something to do it, otherwise, because you're
It's up
sacrificing
high.
something, yeah.
And eternity.
So,
In perpetuity.
but opening it up for, I guess in a private sense, but what, then it comes down to the what's the motivation for a cemetery owner? I shouldn't really be sitting in the seat asking this question, but what's the
No,
motivation for a cemetery, for a person who has a cemetery to open it up to the public
We
and
just-
totally turn it all over
We
to the
just
town?
discussed that, economic development.
Well, but if you turn it over to the town, then you don't make any economic development.
You know?
I mean, you don't
maybe
make
there's a
any money
grant
off of
somewhere
it
for
unless you
this.
sell it to the town.
You got
Maybe you
your
could open up a
retirement.
hot dog.
This is a
stand.
great place
So
to,
what's the town gonna
Rest
pay
of your life.
for that in a lot, you know? It's
Well,
You could sell
60,000
hot
if that.
dog stands.
I don't think, I think if you're waiting for town money, you'd be waiting a long time, but I think if there's some way you could turn it into a profitable cause you're sacrificing, let's say, a good building lot to do it, so you gotta get something out of it, otherwise, why would you
And some
buy it?
privacy.
Think for a minute
Yeah,
about,
yeah, and more people showing up and all that.
think for a minute about the actuarial problem of you're gonna offer perpetual care. What is it gonna cost to mow those lawns 150 years from now?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Robots doing it.
how do you know?
Well, maybe that's where the deal is struck with the town, if that's the part you put on them.
Right, you maintain it.
Yeah, I'll sell the plots
But
to
you
the
maintain
public.
it, yeah, I would love that.
Well, I mean, they need plots, right? So somebody's, they're not, the town's not paying for the plot, private people are. It's just the maintenance of a public cemetery.
No, there's been some new cemeteries put in that basically the funeral homes are the ones who usually put them together.
Oh,
Right.
And they are basically buying parcels of land
do
and
that.
making a cemetery, selling off the plots, and then basically putting X amount of dollars into the trust fund or care.
Can you name one new cemetery?
The one that I'm familiar with that is relatively new is in Clinton. It's right next to the country club. As you're looking at the country club, right to the right-hand side of it,
Yeah.
there's a new cemetery in there.
New or expanded?
No, new. The whole
New?
thing is new.
Really? That's on that back, okay, yeah, I know.
It's like, you come in the driveway that goes into the golf course, and then basically that next driveway up. I mean, you'll see it, but it's fairly good size.
But-
And that was.
No, I lived in Clinton 40 years ago and that cemetery was there.
Okay, seeing it is 8 o'clock.
Because it was Swan Corporation that did it.
Is that right?
Swan Corporation bought, maybe they bought the additional land
Yeah, they
around
might
it.
have expanded it.
Because it's relatively, it's new.
Okay, we'll get back to this, but seeing it's 8 o'clock, we should jump to our public hearing.
Oh, shucks.
You have a call?
yes, sir. All right, the East Haddam Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 25th, 2019 at 8 PM at Municipal Office Complex, Meeting Room 1-2, 1 Plains Road, Moodus, to hear the following. Proposed amendments to Section 10.2 of the East Haddam zoning regulations to allow flexibility for accessory units and to clarify sections. At this hearing, interested persons shall be heard and correspondence received. step
What do we
right
got?
up.
Okay, so. Hand out the latest and greatest that we posted for the public hearing.
Hasn't changed.
Hasn't changed. No.
Thank you very much. Short meeting.
So a few years ago, we wrote an accessory, building and we reduced the size greatly and we might have, in the zealous of squelching it down, wrote it in such a way that some people have come to us and said, you know, you wrote it so it's only a maximum of 700 or 500 square feet, yet I have a 2,000 square foot house based on 1,000 and 1,000 and on the basement, which is a walkout. After I take my utilities, I still have 750 square feet that could accommodate it. It's kinda, you know, I don't wanna lie to you that I'm using the whole thing, but it's all usable. You know, I can't, you know, so it's been quite a few requests that have come back to say, you know, if I had something like that, or a garage that was over 500 square feet with a second story on it, could I, you know, do that? So when we were shooting it back or forth, we ended up, you know, with this under standards under one, we went from 1 to 2 bedrooms as a proposal. And then we also said to be no more square footage than the primary structure's first floor habitable space. Small additions for the purposes of egress may be permitted. And then we took out at the recommendation of Attorney Willis, for the purposes of this paragraph, no accessory building may be used as an accessory dwelling unless it is the only one of its type in his property, because he said, you're in East Haddam. You have people with multiple garages and multiple barns. And I think, you know, at the time he goes, don't you want to say what you already say, only one accessory unit is permitted?
Yeah, that language right there, I don't even understand that language,
Yeah,
because
so-
that says, if I have 2 barns, I can't
Can
use
use
them.
one, right.
I'm like,
So,
what?
so somehow it got by us the first time. It's recommended to be removed now. And that was the only change on it. I did send it out to the regional planning agencies, and I have letters back from both of them. I don't know if you want those read in the record.
Yeah, we should, it's a public
Okay.
hearing.
So I have from the Lower Connecticut River Valley Council of Governments to Mr. Brownell, the East Haddam Planning and Zoning Commission has referred the petition for amendment of a zoning regulation to the Regional Planning Committee pursuant to Section 8-3B of the Connecticut General Statutes. The proposed language will alter requirements for accessory dwellings, relaxing standards somewhat for the maximum size of certain accessory apartments, where units with 1 or 2 bedrooms constructed attached or part of a single-family dwelling customary building attached or detached currently has an existing maximum of 500 square feet. The proposed language will allow the maximum size of the unit to be as large as the square footage of the primary structure's first floor habitable space. These comments are provided for consideration to the Commission at its public hearing scheduled to commence Tuesday, June 25th, 2019. Findings: staff has found that the adoption of these proposed regulations will not create any significant intermissional impacts to the properties located adjacent to rivercog towns of East Hampton, Lyme, and Haddam. Thank you for your considerations. Florence Downs, Deputy Director. Second, from the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments. Dear Mr. Brownell, I am writing response to the proposed amendment for the zoning regulations of the town of East Haddam as referenced in the correspondence dated June 3rd, 2019. The proposed amendments were referred to the agency pursuant to Section 8-3B of the Connecticut General Statutes and were received on June 5th. The proposed regulation seeks to allow greater flexibility for accessory dwelling units based on a review of the material submitted. The Southeastern Council of Government staff determined that the proposed amendments are not likely to have any adverse intermunicipal impacts. Sincerely, Samuel S. Alexander, Planner.
Okay, anything else?
That's all I have.
You here for the public hearing, sir?
Yes, with regard to this regulation.
Okay. Okay, we just, do you need a copy of the change?
That would be good. I'm familiar with it, but I haven't seen it.
comments, questions from the commission?
Yeah, Jim, can you clarify, if it's detached, can I use my existing septic system, or?
You can use your existing septic system if you get an exception from the state
Have to
to
go
connect.
for that
You still,
exception?
any detached unit has to go for an exception.
Okay.
And 98% of the time, wouldn't you say, Jim, they grant them?
Yeah, I would say I haven't heard of any that weren't granted, but they always ask for that exemption. Any two buildings on the same septic system
Yeah.
requires it. They always give it,
If you come in with it and have its own septic system, then it's
Doesn't matter.
approvable in-house. But the local health code, public health district is not allowed. That is a state exception that has to be run by them.
But if this 700 square foot structure is attached to the house,
And you can,
as long as I have, the bedroom count works,
Yeah.
I can tie into my existing septic system.
you know, assuming your system's big enough and all that. I mean,
Yeah,
in other words,
yeah.
you know, there's all
Or
the
you
other.
have to increase that size.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not big enough, then you can't do it.
Along with, yeah.
But probably it is. It's the existing structure.
So is that attachment just, you know, that's just a shed roof or what?
Well, yeah, depending on what it would be, is as long as like your number count on bedrooms doesn't go up and you haven't exceeded it, they might ask for a tank, but as long as the water consumption was the same, they would let you use the leaching field. There's a couple different ways you can do it. Sometimes the plumbing will match up in the house and you can use everything the same.
I just meant the definition of attached.
Attached?
Yeah, I mean, what do you
It's-
consider an attached?
Well, like a garage that's attached to your house. It's a detached is totally separate.
Breezeway.
Well, what if they just, you know, put just, yeah, like
a breezeway's
That
attached.
That's attached,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what you do.
If there is already an apartment on the property that's not being used, is there any requirement for the owner?
If it's,
They already have, say, a two-bedroom apartment over a garage that's empty.
as long as it's on the assessor card and it was permitted. We run into this on a daily basis, not a daily, but I would say weekly basis, where somebody comes in and says, do you know there's a kitchen and a bedroom and a shower and all this in the unit? And we go, the building file indicate that there's nothing. And the appraiser says, well, there's a closing in 2 days. And we go, I bet you there won't be. And they have to clean up their mess. And it's a horrible mess to clean up, because the building official says, why do you want me to sign off on something that I can't see?
Yeah.
Hire an electrician, hire a plumber. They don't want to go out there and do it if you know, Uncle Joe did the work over the weekend.
You see that a lot?
A lot. Once a week we have somebody come down and say, we've got, you know, a garage attached that's never been seen because it's on a, you know, interior lot. A unit that was converted, attics that are converted to third floor habitable space, which at that point, then it's like,
Totally
yeah,
legal.
yank it out. It's a fire trap, because they don't put a dormer on it or anything. How would you know anybody was up there?
Well, that's why all these renovations get done on the QT, because nobody can tell.
And it really hurts because the banks now are brutal. And it's probably a good thing, it protects the buyer. They send an appraiser out and they go through, I mean, they want every bit of that file and they scrutinize it, and they're back at us asking questions.
But typically, if there's an open permit, you can't close either.
Right. But what happens is people close, and one of my friends did it. He closed the permit, and then he finished off the second story. And I said, "You're done." I said, "You could have asked me about this, and I could have told you the pitfalls."
Is he still a friend?
Yeah, it wasn't me that made his life miserable.
I think Joe raised a good point. What do we need a definition of attached in this
Because I can attach something by
language?
You can.
really simple.
But don't forget, to put a breezeway to connect a building to it, you gotta get a building
You
permit.
got to get a permit. Yeah.
So then the whole process of review and zoning compliance and all the rest of it comes in. So you illegally can do it, but I mean, that doesn't get you where you wanna go. So, I mean, in order to make it officially attached, you gotta go get
Yeah,
a
but
building permit.
But this permit doesn't matter if it's attached or detached.
Yeah, you can go either way, you don't have to, you can go either way. You mean as far as the septic system connection?
Oh, except
Usually the big issue is physically, can you do it? In other words, you know, elevation wise, can you make it work? That's usually the only issue involved with the connection on the septics. And is the septic, like, you've got a pretty new house, yeah, your system's pretty new. If you got a 30-year-old house, your system's so outdated and doesn't comply to code, you probably can't do it anyway.
Yeah, but his system could be just maxed out right now, we don't know. We don't know how big it is.
It would have to be 1,000.
Well, you know what I'm
gallon.
saying.
No, I'm
we
just
don't
saying,
know.
for example, no, that all has to be looked at, and that's
Right.
part of the,
It's gotta be 1,000
Apply to
gallon
do
tank.
it.
Oh, I was
It's
just
a new
saying, but
house.
you know, you don't know. I mean, it could be
but the
3
newer,
bedrooms,
the
and that's
newer
it, boom,
houses
done.
tend to comply.
And then you add a fourth, well, then it won't work.
Right, right.
Normally you oversize them, but I don't know. That was a Gomez property.
Isn't that minimum code now, it's 1,000 gallon?
Well, it's supposed to be.
What's that?
It's 1,000 gallon, but the real thing is, what is the leaching field designed for?
Capacity.
Was it
Yep.
designed for 3 or 4 bedroom or 5 bedroom?
Yep.
And unfortunately, until recently, and even Nancy said it, she goes, you know, there used to be a rule that if you didn't increase the bedroom count by 1/2, it was okay. But that's kind of now been a little deeper analysis from the health district as to the age of the system, you know, the soil testing that has been available for review. So if something like mine, which had, you know, designed for a 3-bedroom in 1968, and I say I want to add one, they're going to say, good luck with that, Jim, give me some test bits and let's find out what you really have. In his case, he has a full as-built and he has soil testing and everything's there visible. It's a much easier battle for somebody with new stuff and new information.
When you get an engineer involved, you might even get like a water meter to show that your water use is very low, and then you can comply because now your leaching field's big enough. But that takes time.
Yeah.
You gotta put the meter in, and then you gotta monitor it over a certain period of time to show that your use is low.
Yeah.
I mean, there's ways, but and I've seen it done, but
Sometimes it's easier to just put the 1,250 gallon tank in it and then run another leg on your leaching system and get your mother-in-law in before you get divorced.
So my, so my house was built in 73. Would there be an as-built for that?
We
probably.
They, yeah, it's iffy.
Probably not.
Well, there should be.
There should be.
I've got them all the way back that
There's,
far.
there's probably an as-built. There's probably not soil data to match it though.
I have no idea where my well is.
So that would require test bits.
Yeah.
Still working though, right?
Yeah, they covered it out there. I have no idea where. I see the pipe going up, but I don't know if it,
When was your house built?
well, the hand dug well's still there too. 1750.
There you go.
Okay, I'll open this to the public for comment. Sir, do you have any questions?
No, I don't think so. I'm certainly in favor of it.
Okay. Can I have your name for the record, please?
Surely, David Shaver, S-H-A-V-E-R.
Okay, thank you very much. Bob, any comments?
No, it sounds like, I mean, it's something that's a sensible thing to do. It makes it so that people have some possibilities on what to do, especially these larger houses. That's gonna become a problem. It already is. How do you support these larger houses? And this will give some people some options here that they could actually utilize as part of it or an outbuilding to get some income.
Well, I think part of our job here is to find the weaknesses in these regulations, and I can't find any right now. Time will tell.
We can always bring it back up.
The other thing that should be noted that under our existing and our proposed plan of conservation development, we're looking for opportunities for affordable housing.
Right.
And this is, being a rural community, one of the opportunities and ways we can accomplish that.
Okay, are we all set?
I'm good.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Any more discussion? Okay.
I'll make a motion, we approve the proposed amendments to section 10.2 of the East Haddam zoning regulation to allow flexibility for accessory units, and it clarifies sections, whatever that means, anyway. Okay. We don't have any conditions other than that, just as they were printed.
Do I have a-
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now, cemeteries. Unless I have another motion, it's up to you guys. What's on our agenda next week?
Kurt, can I take 5 minutes?
Yes,
Right now,
our next meeting, or not next week, but
nothing.
Nothing?
There's nothing on there.
it's July 8th, correct?
July 8th.
No,
July 11th, is that?
it's the Tuesday.
Oh, I'm thinking of June. Yeah, never mind. Forget what I said.
Okay. Since it's July, summer, it would be July 9th.
Which I'll be in Maine
I will be there next week,
next week.
so
Let's move it on.
Let's
unless
cancel.
something comes up, that's an emergency, we can postpone it and not have our meeting.
We didn't acknowledge anything
No.
today. I'm not aware of any applications.
So there won't be any
that
public
coming.
hearings, that
There won't be
means.
any public hearings.
Okay,
We do have a public hearing for the Plan of Conservation Development.
is that in here?
That's here.
Okay,
Yeah, we kept it a regular scheduled meeting.
I didn't know if we were gonna move it or not, I don't think,
No.
we never get many for,
Not for the public hearing.
no. Okay, so then we'll stand at our next meeting, our first meeting of July, it is canceled at this point. So, enjoy your summer vacation.
Yeah, right. On that Warner Cemetery, why is this loop different than that plot?
I'm gonna have that, I'm going over to.
Or is that, oh, that's a contour plot, that shape?
Oh, that's right, town meeting.
Yeah.
What's that on?
Oh,
What's it on? There's a couple things.
That green, the green is the shape of the cemetery. and-
Cemetery.
And the other thing's a contour line. It just
That
looks so rectangular, I was thinking
You
it
going
was
to town meeting
Oh,
also?
on a
No, I
property.
have another meeting now,
Okay,
so,
everyone,
I mean, we're not gonna do any voting or
Good night,
anything,
no,
so.
no. Okay, where are you?
I was just looking at that Warner one,
What number?
it's six, I guess, number 6, yeah. That's the one behind, Palmer Warner, Palmer House.
No, that's
Warner House.
town property, right?
No, I don't, that's not town.
Warner?
yeah,
That's the one on
that's
that,
Town of East Haddam, yeah.
County
So
seven.
it is actually, it is owned by the town.
Oh, the town owns it now.
Cemetery, but it's unclear as to how to get.
No, there's a right of way, it's a deeded right of way.
Oh, there is.
We pulled it up when I went in 8 years ago to ask the town to clean it up, and they just did it this year.
Yeah.
Just ready to light.
takes a while to get things done.
8 years, or close to that.
So where is it? Hugging the north boundary
Yes.
for 25 feet?
But if you looked at the.
I'm
where
not
the
sure, I don't
break
think
in
it's
the wall is,
25.
Pardon me?
The break in the wall, it's like a 12-foot.
Yeah, it's
break
not,
in the
it's
wall.
not a full 25, but that's where the right of way, and it is a deeded right of way,
Well, that's good, at least for maintenance, if nothing else.
Yeah.
right.
But I see nobody's.
Hi,
done it.
Joe.
Heading to the town meeting.
All right,
Okay.
good night, Joe. What's the story with the actual cemetery itself, though? On that one, because I see there's huge trees growing in there, right, which are like, oh my God, that's just a disaster.
I
waiting
looked
to
at
happen.
when Craig was facility manager, and I said, Craig, my recommendation is take these trees down
Oh, God, yeah.
before they topple over, and then you're picking up bones.
Yeah, that's the thing, you topple over and you're gonna pick them up.
Well, then they do damage and it's irreplaceable damage. But whose responsibility is the cemetery itself? That would be
I'd
the
be
next.
the
That's
town's.
the town.
Oh, so the town now has the cemetery? Okay.
Yeah, they have. It's no longer in use, so.
Well, they don't have any trees to cut, so they can start there, huh?
Right.
Boy, there's some action around town, huh, everywhere.
Right, a lot of dead trees.
Oh,
So,
okay, that's okay, but expansion for that is non-existent or what?
Well, you know,
I mean, there's a lot of land there.
the funny part about it is.
70 by 70,
That's the size of the cemetery.
Yeah,
that's it.
But what
it's
about
where society
expansion?
would have to.
Right.
All the land around the cemetery would be owned by,
The
the,
Aquarium Society.
I think the landmarks owns that property.
Yeah.
And also to the right of way, the visibility from
oh, that's
sight
a.
is
really-
just
Oh, horrible.
bad.
Yeah,
It's
that's a bad
dangerous.
spot.
You put up the cones, then you go in, yeah, it's tough.
But you're right, there is land there that could be expanded on.
The soil is good around it. It's a Paxton Montauk. It's a little bit high on the water table because you can see the pond there, but it's a gravelly mix and
That's a steam shovel pond.
I know,
Yeah, I was about to put in
Is that a
a
Woodsy?
steam shovel.
Steam shovel?
Yeah, Richie Bauer was telling me that when I was over there one.
Is there one in there?
No, it's just, he was just saying that it was, you know, because you don't hear about that too often.
Yeah.
It was a steam shovel that went in there and dug it.
Dug it up.
Is that all, I can't remember, I've never been back there. Is that cemetery surrounded by stone wall, the whole thing, on all four sides?
Yeah.
So that makes
It's
that
kinda-
difficult.
And it's raised. There's probably a 3.5-foot wall.
Oh, yeah.
And so basically, the land inside is 3.5 feet higher than your land outside.
Wow.
So that stone wall is all the way around that thing.
That's what scares me the most, because it's just, they dug it and filled it full of soil, then they started burying people. Somebody spent a lot of time on that baby.
Yeah.
And
I'd like
the
to know what's
trees are in
underneath it.
the trees, you know, they're sitting on that soil, and
It's
they're
gonna be,
big.
it's gonna be softer material in there because obviously it's not virgin soil in there.
Well, let me ask you this, is that one that we should mark as looking further into or not?
Well, I think any that have land around it that is usable,
The sideline is.
we should look into it. But I mean,
Line, you can always get around that.
it's like any of these cemeteries, they're all terrible. Most of them are really
Oh.
terrible, but it's only,
Yeah,
say,
you
going
mark
for
it off,
burial,
you
and then
know?
nobody's there for
Okay.
2 years.
I mean, I think there's better suited.
Well, I'm just saying, it's better than,
Yeah.
Well, you gotta
I mean,
be in the historical
From my
society
point of
buried
view, I
there,
want
but-
something that's close to town. And this,
Why, you gonna go out for a beer?
this was one of them. It's where the population center is. You don't wanna have to drive out to, Tater Hill Road to bury someone.
well, this is one that's closer to.
Why not?
That's what I'm
People
saying.
live out there.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's a bad
Go
sightline.
sleep
yeah.
out there
Let
permanently.
me ask a stupid question. Who owns the land around Chest Elm?
Around Chest Elm, they own quite a bit.
Chestone does.
Just,
yeah.
I was gonna say.
Well, there you go. We take you in, we take care of you, and we plant you.
I like that.
I mean,
And it's hilly, so we'll just call it Serenity Hills.
no, I mean,
It's all ledge in the back.
if you were planning a business, that would make sense.
There was one pocket of good soil there, though, because remember they were gonna put that big system in
Oh,
there?
Yeah, way up on top, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't there like about 40 acres that's adjacent to Chestnut in the back there that was?
Yeah, that whole hill in the back there is part of theirs.
Yeah.
That they were talking
No,
about.
no, it isn't part of theirs.
Well, then why would, they were talking about a big expansion into that.
Who's the doctor who lived next door?
Oh,
Berwick?
Berwick.
It's Berwick's land. Doesn't Berwick own that, Jim?
No, he's,
No, that's
Chestone owns a big chunk back there now.
The hill directly
They own that?
behind the hospital.
Okay, so then they bought the 40 acres.
And then there's another piece that's owned, was Payne at one time, it
Yeah.
might be Payne, in between the school and,
Yeah,
Let's see, where the hell is this? This
I think
is,
it's Payne relatives that still own that.
so this is your number 7, second burial. This is behind, Ray of Light, and there's a little dirt
oh,
road, it's
down
that
there.
tiny
Oh, yeah.
little
Oh, yeah.
square.
Oh, that down there. Yeah, that's an interesting cemetery.
Beautiful piece of land.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're not gonna get down there, so. Yeah, it is
Yeah, access to
gorgeous
this
down
one is pretty
Let me ask you a
horrifying.
question, Jim. How much does the town spend to maintain these cemeteries every year?
I have no
That's
idea.
the-
Can't be
Question.
much, cause it looks like it wasn't mowed for a year, so I don't know.
No, I mean the other cemeteries.
there. You can't, we haven't gotten an answer.
Well, we need an answer. If we're gonna expand it, if we plan on expanding cemeteries, we have to know, how much it's gonna cost to maintain every year.
Well, this.
They
is
have,
just-
they tap into a lot of private funds and stuff. A lot of these, that.
So
the town-
that
This
isn't
is
even big
why
enough to
Haddam
border
wants
the
a
open space
cemetery
piece.
committee.
That's
No.
what we've been fighting for, to
Yeah.
find out where it all
Now,
goes.
there's
Yeah.
a little bit of
I
expansion
think we need
ability in there, but
accountability.
you got trails right next to that,
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
and we get stole off,
There's a little expanse, you could do a little more there, so. Anyway,
Okay, can't answer that question.
Parker Cemetery, Mill Road, it's on the backside.
Parker is the black square.
Yep.
Sitting there, the red is that's a swamp next to it. It was kind of built on the top
That's
of
up
the
on the hill,
knoll, you know?
But that's closed, isn't it?
which one is this one? Where is this one?
Parker,
No,
no
there's
longer in use?
There's a right of way in there.
Oh, that's Roaring Brook over there, I see,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, is there a right of way?
Yeah. According
Is
to Rob
Parker-
Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the private piece there, yeah, yeah.
Cause that's quite a ways in on their property too.
You have to go right up his driveway to get there. But it's in the deeds.
Yeah, that one probably is not expandable just because of look where that is next to his house
Especially
and
since
all
he's
that.
got the swimming pool downhill from it. See that lap pool
Yeah,
there?
that's the lap pool, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
But, I mean, that's
With that
probably.
huge lake right there, it puts in a lap pool. I mean, isn't that beautiful lake?
Trust
isn't
me,
it?
the lap pool is crystal clear. The
The
pond is
maybe not.
got some weed
Roaring
issues.
Brook runs.
How deep
right-
is
right
that
through it.
pond?
It's right off the dam is kinda deep. I dropped in the Turtle there, launched that thing. That's the first place the Turtle that Fred Frisee built ever went underwater, is right there off that dam. Did it with a backhoe, dropped it in.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's where it was tested, right there. So right there by the dam, it might be 8 feet deep, but that's gotta be really shallow.
He told me
The brook
just
runs right through
recently,
the middle of it.
2-3 years ago, he told me he caught a huge brown on it. He was just,
Oh, really?
oh yeah, hook jaw and everything.
Okay. Tater Hill Cemetery.
Right on the corner. This is one that I thought was maybe expandable off to the backside.
Yeah.
You know, it's surrounded by wall, but that doesn't mean you couldn't have an
That,
opening in it and expand, you know.
I've walked behind you.
I don't know
This
who
is,
owns
this is all stone wall too.
Yeah.
Next property.
Oh, that is,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's all stone wall and that has potential. It's on a slope, but it's still,
Now, there's a black line that goes around it. Is that all part of the cemetery, or is that something
No,
else?
that's
a
separate property.
Property line
And
of
he-
something.
believe it or not, I thought it was attached to the next property over. It isn't.
Across the street?
Person who owns this lives like in Norwich,
Oh, no kidding.
and he's owned it from the 60s. And he
Pays
mows.
taxes?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
well, that field right there, we opened up that field back in the, like, early 70s, and I thought it was the guys across the street here that owned it. They paid to do it, maybe.
They paid to do it? Okay,
Yeah.
maybe he allowed him. Maybe that's the
Maybe that was the
situation.
deal. I thought it went with the little schoolhouse.
I thought it did too, and it
Yeah.
did. Last title search I did didn't.
Tater Hill is a town-owned cemetery. What did you just say? Some guy in Norwich owns it?
The owns the land behind it.
Property
Behind it. And, I mean, it doesn't have a lot of, I mean, access use that wouldn't be, that's a possibility there.
Yeah. How many does that leave us with possibilities? 2, 3? 3.
A few.
So Warner Cemetery, possible. Hungerford Cemetery, possible. And then Tater Hill Cemetery, correct? That's it right now.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. I should mark those down too, huh? Hadline doesn't, Hadline you marked as possible?
The what?
The Hadline one at the church?
No,
That's almost nothing, right?
that one's private, isn't it, or? Yeah.
No, the Hadline church one, I don't know who owns it, the church owns it, right?
Church owns it.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't have much room,
No,
even if they wanted to.
Occasional use, right.
So, this one, Hungerford,
Hungerford possible.
did we skip Riverview
Yeah, we
Cemetery?
kinda did.
Oh, I'm
Skip
sorry.
review
Yeah,
number
you
5.
went right by it.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was me that did that, cause I started talking about Warner.
The Warner Cemetery.
Second burial ground, Town Street.
That's the one behind,
Which one?
second burial.
Oh,
is-
that's down Ray of Light,
Ray of
okay,
Light.
yeah, and that's really not expandable. This one isn't either, but Tater Hill is maybe. Maybe. Do you wanna hit
Bridges?
Riverview Cemetery and all those before we get too far ahead? Because
I was gonna say, let's just go to 10 and leave it at
Okay,
that.
all right, 3 Bridges. Now, this is one, I mean, that schoolhouse is really in rough shape, that is a shame.
That's the other side, yeah.
Where's this? 3 Bridges?
3
Three
Bridges.
bridges.
I've never, where is it?
That's right down off of, the
No, I know,
Flashing
but
Light
where?
North Plains.
I'm looking for the
Purple.
square.
The
Oh,
purple.
okay.
Yep.
Does the schoolhouse show up?
No, the schoolhouse is across the river,
Yeah,
to
this is,
the east. Off the
schoolhouse
map.
is you just drive straight in and hang a left there and,
So this now is a dead end because the 3 bridges are blown out.
Are they ever gonna replace those?
The cost was astronomical, because it's such a long, flat section, that even after the 82 flood, they just decided, yeah, no.
And you can go
You can go
either way.
either way for, you got
Right.
3 houses or 4 houses on the west side, and I think you have 8 houses on the east side, so we never connected it. There has been, Roger Nemmer came up with a, plan for using the existing abutments and putting down like a trail like that's in the golf course, you know, one of those
Oh.
bridges that could take a horse and a, you know, golf cart.
Well, let's face it, if money was an issue, why would we have ever fixed that Hadline one behind the church for the money we spent? I mean,
Well-
if
Well-
money is the main thing, I mean,
Well,
this
this
is
one-
actually a usable road, whereas that's.
According to
almost-
one of the selectmen, it increased the responsive time for emergency vehicles to go down the road, Bone Mill
Well,
Road.
so would this
That was the
probably
excuse,
from
that was the
someone.
reasoning I got when I questioned it.
Well, of course, on the east side, you're expecting Salem to come.
Salem has come to my house,
Yeah, so I'm just saying, I mean,
so.
So
I don't
when you look at
strictly
this
money.
little square, the 14, if you haven't been in this one,
I haven't
this
been
one
in.
has some very interesting headstones. Probably the most interesting was the captain who was killed by mutiny of his.
really.
Yeah, and it was one of the points that I brought the 5th and 6th graders when we used to have the class day, because you go through there and the stones, the people that died of smallpox, the people that died at age 3, and then a whole slew of them that lived in their 90s. They'd be like 125 years old nowadays. And you know, where did these old goats come from, and what did they do? I want their secret.
It's all in the genes, you never know.
Yeah.
Of people.
Roll the dice.
Aren't there some Native Americans in there too?
I don't know that.
Now, this is publicly owned, this
No.
place?
No, this is a
It's an association.
Association, and I don't know if they ever
Three
send
Bridges
anybody.
Trust of Boston, Massachusetts.
It's a Boston trust.
Three Bridges Nominee Trust of Boston.
Really?
Now, the funny part is that 4.3 acre and the piece next to it, all of this land around it is attached to the house across the road. There is some nice sandy gravelly soil here.
Well, I'm looking toward the back of it there and thinking the contours just continue straight out.
Well, let me ask you this, if that's
Close,
owned
close.
private, if that's owned by a trust, but the land around it is owned by the person across the street,
Right,
then they could be approached, and
They
the
could.
two don't have to.
right.
Does the town maintain this, or does the trust?
The trust does, I guess, but,
Not necessarily.
okay, so I'll have to ask that
So
question.
you can do those kind of joint things
You
with the
could, it could
town.
be privately owned, but if it's privately owned but abandoned per se,
I'll have to ask.
Oh.
then, the town takes over the maintenance of
Oh.
it.
I'll just get a list of what we
The last
maintain.
time I was down there, it wasn't very well maintained.
Okay, so then.
That must be the town doing it.
Then the town.
So now we know the town's doing it, right?
I didn't say that.
Well, I did.
Cause sometimes I do mine, sometimes the town does it, and I've never asked them, it's just the way,
Really?
it's weird.
Okay.
Just thought they'd stop by and mow it, huh?
Well, yeah, but
I mean,
in the contract.
except that this morning I was listening to Mike say,
Yeah, let's throw
you're
it.
ordering a part for the vent track, cause he says, I swear to God, they hit a headstone. I'm like, oh, geez, please, no.
Well, it goes out to private contractors. That all goes out to the private ones. So we will star Three Bridges Cemetery. That could be promising too. I know it's not in the center, so you can't go out and have a beer.
But I'd rather be buried out there.
Really?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want, I don't want a million people trampling all over me.
This will be out in the
So
country.
noisy.
Put it this way, Hungerford Cemetery isn't out in the middle of nowhere.
Those damn funeral processions, you know, you're gonna follow 100 cars all the way out to Three
Nobody's gonna
Bridges.
follow me out there, come on. Let's get real.
Well, Hungerford isn't, it's out in the way, but it's not that far out. This G rally, they had to go out into the cemetery and pull a date of the death of someone, and they were driving in there.
You're kidding me.
No, I am not. I was so pissed. I mean, they weren't even they're literally driving their cars into the
Yeah,
cemetery.
It is.
that was MG.
The road rally,
Yeah, that's a weird one. Never thought of
Yeah.
that. Who would have thought of
That
that
didn't
one?
last long when I figured out what
Get
was
a little
going on.
Sarby here.
Okay.
Okay, so we're stopping here?
Yeah, it's a good place to stop, don't you
Oh,
think?
okay, sure. Can we go back and do the ones that we missed, which we missed
it's all
Riverview?
one page.
4? We missed Riverview, cause that was my fault. Riverview is right there on Main Street, right?
Yep.
Now-
Riverview, you can see the stones.
Now, what is that NH?
That's the Nathan Hale Park,
Oh,
and there,
Riverview is private.
yeah,
well, the church owns it,
church owns it.
and they have no more room?
Well, you take a look at the stones, you can almost get a visual of, they're getting there.
Well-
They're getting close.
Yeah.
And then, help me out.
No, see, it's not owned by the, Riverview's owned by the Riverview Cemetery Association.
It's
It's
not
not owned by
owned
the church.
Not owned by the church.
No, it's private,
Yeah.
because I'm on that board.
Oh,
I
wow.
have yet to go to a meeting.
Oh.
There's a little bit of land that goes with the church, that's, I guess, registered as a cemetery
There might be, yeah.
on the right-hand side of the
Right.
church, but mostly all of that cemetery is Riverview
Right.
Association.
They only
Now-
meet during business hours and I can't.
Do you see any possibility for expansion? It looks like they're right up to the boundary there. I see some stones that look like they're all the way to the back, so there's really almost nothing
I
left.
don't think there's much left there from when I was talking to them. And it seems like there's not,
It's, well, it says closed to further plot sales, so that
Oh.
means there might be.
So it's sold out.
It's sold out.
And then the other one was the Warner one we skipped?
Nope,
No,
Nathan Hill Park.
Oh, that's where we
It's-
started, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Nathan Hill Park is,
What number?
Captain, there's one person buried up there, his wife.
What number are you on, 4? No.
His
Oh, there's 4 and 5 on the
monument
same
was in the
page.
center, they moved it up there.
Oh,
the colonel that's up there? Colonel.
oh yeah, that's just one.
Yeah, him and his wife, that's it.
Okay.
Where's that little plot, where is it?
I don't know
Up by
where it's
11.
located on.
Oh,
here
it's not, it's
somewhere.
in there somewhere,
Yeah.
okay. I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
But it's really, it's, not a real cemetery per se.
But there is a grave there.
Yeah.
Family plot, okay.
God knows how many other cemeteries are out there that aren't even on here. Over the years, you never know. So,
Until you dig it up. Oops.
23. I mean, if you guys wanna keep on going, it doesn't matter to me.
So Curry, what exactly is the Riverview Cemetery
It's
Association?
just, well, it's a group of people who keep an eye on make sure that the investments are to keep it up. That's
And you're one of them.
Yes, but I've yet to go to a meeting. Ed Bishop nominated me to be on the commission before he passed away, and I was approved, but then I just have never been able, because they always meet,
Yeah.
so.
They meet at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, for the convenience of the bank.
Do you know anybody else that's on it, or?
Charlie Farrell was on it, I don't know if he is anymore, and.
Scott Jezik is on it.
Scott is? Okay, so I might not even be on it, because I've got a mailing in a year or two from them, because I never showed up, they might have taken me off.
I mean, what happens to these associations when everybody dies off?
Well, then all of a sudden you want to keep on appointing new members as time goes on.
You better start going to the meetings.
I work, you know? That was my whole thing. I said,
That's all you need is another meeting to go to, come
Yeah,
on.
right.
At 2:00 in the afternoon.
Oh,
It's
well,
like,
that's-
come on.
Obviously retired people.
Well, pretty much. Well, Ed Bishop was on it for quite a while after he, semi-retirement,
He could walk up the road, would he?
Yeah, exactly. So,
Worked at Williams, take a half hour off.
so Scott is on that. Okay,
And they,
I'll have to call
I
them.
forget now who is the president now, he's down in Haddam. Forget now.
Yeah, it was nominated, accepted, and, yeah. and So,
You're a lifer.
I don't know, so,
Doesn't sound like there's any checks coming in.
no. I mean, you guys wanna continue or head home, I don't care.
We can go through, get halfway through.
We're just about
We
there.
can go till 9 o'clock.
Alright, I said 8:30. Okay, Town Street Cemetery, Town Street.
That's the one right across from, past Sanibel's up there, that's all the Bohemians are up there, right?
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
What number are we?
11.
Sanibel's is there, that's got that angled driveway up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, that's not expandable pretty much, or?
No longer in
There's
use?
land in the back there.
There's land
Oh,
behind
no,
it.
wait a minute.
It's owned with the house, but.
Now, this cemetery is owned by.
Still in
whom?
use.
Yeah, I remember they buried someone there not too long ago.
Town Street
Kathy
Cemetery
Haddam.
Association, so that's an association.
Association also.
So what's the name of that one?
Town Street Cemetery Association,
Oh, okay.
still
Well,
in
the
use.
thing is, there's bordering land there that looks like it could be, because that's definitely going up gradient, so that would be usable probably.
put it down for one to
That's got
look
a
at.
possible
Yep.
expandable somewhere.
Okay.
Who owns the land?
Well, that's the
Town
question.
Street, I would imagine, oh, that?
No, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
No telling, I mean, there's,
that house that's on the road, on
Yeah.
Gray Hill.
Right, so that house has 5.7 acres, so.
you know, sometimes it could be as simple as a 50-foot strip off the back and add, you know, 40 more spots or something.
Well, then let's look at, if this is an association and if the town were to purchase the property behind, then the association and the town would have to work out some kind of a
Well,
deal.
they could, but I mean, town's probably maintaining this one too. Occasionally, when they drive
get a
by, they
list.
unload and they go up and mow it, right?
I'll find out. I'm gonna get a list of what actually Mike does. Mike, where you been lately? Give me a list.
He does
Never
all of
seen
them.
him at that one. I've never seen anybody.
I don't know who does that though, maybe Lou does
This
that.
guy Mike does all of them?
Anyway,
Doing the towns, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have Mount Parnassus Cemetery,
okay, so,
Which I
aka
thought
Smith Road.
had the greatest potential because there's a field behind it. But it will have to need some work on portion of it. Jim and I know that Woodbridge soil, it's wet.
yeah,
So that red line
it
behind,
might be okay.
that's the edge of the wetlands, right?
Yeah, and I didn't know that until then I took a deeper look and I went, oh, that whole thing's a pocket of wetlands up there. No wonder it's never been.
But it looks like there's a tree line there,
Maybe
you can
behind the
almost
field.
expand it right up to
Behind-
that tree line.
Right.
But the thing is, since the cemetery is down gradient of that area behind it, it should be better up there. The higher you go.
Right,
Should be.
right.
If they can use that area, they can probably go behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
The town owns it.
probably the
Well, the
one.
cemetery, so.
You've already talked to the association, and I just talked to Shalfo about it again to try and, hey, you don't need this land.
Right.
It could be,
Who
and
owns that?
Wildwood Association
Wildwood.
got it
Wildwood
from,
Okay.
part of, and made a deal with Winkley.
Pignilica wanted to give this to the town.
Really, and the town wouldn't take it?
Well, the town told her that she needed to pay to have it all appraised,
Surveyed.
and get the, the surveyor, have it all surveyed, the whole 9 yards, and she's
Just
like,
recently?
really? No,
Oh.
many years ago. She was telling me about it.
This looks like one of the better spots.
Yeah.
Well, it's another one that's attached to an existing cemetery, and
And so when you look at it,
It almost
if
quadruple the
behind it's
size,
all
right?
wetlands, it's not really something that they need for access point to get to the rest of the land, cause
they, yeah, it's on the far extreme of their property, and they're way down, all the way to the water,
Yep.
so there's.
Key out of their park.
And if you keep it away from that property line, the same distance, and it wouldn't
Yeah,
prove.
I mean, they could take a tax deduction, there's lots of ways they could handle the money, but even if they took money for it, I mean, this
Yeah.
is one that
Yeah,
could.
someone would do an appraisal, tell you
Yeah.
how many building lots you can
Yeah.
get out of it, and then they
Well,
move on.
it's usable, there's no
Yeah.
doubt. But I mean, that's one that seems like a simple and easy expansion.
And also a possibility as far as the cellar.
Seller, yeah,
Yeah.
that's got some real,
Got an association that has all these costs coming for water systems and pump outs and,
Sewers.
yeah, you know, all that stuff, yeah.
so that's a good one too.
Now, what's that?
Sure.
No, if you go to the map of this one, what's this?
Oh, that was their switch.
Oh, that's what,
Flip.
yeah,
Okay.
They,
between Winkley and them.
Winks, yeah, if you look at it, Winkley has all that farm, you know, see the rows of stuff on the south side?
Yeah.
The road, well,
Right
they
in
did
here,
a
the-
survey and they said, hey.
You're on the wrong side.
So they cut this strip out and that went to Winkley and the strip to the north went to the association.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Mhm.
They just traded.
But they didn't do it properly because they didn't merge the properties. Imagine that.
Oh.
Otherwise, the assessor wouldn't have shown it this way.
Yeah, because that's a
It would've
separate
been a
parcel.
dotted line.
And it's an illegal parcel, of course,
Right.
but.
Okay. That's just like.
Don't they automatically merge when you?
Oh,
That's the law.
you
The law
should-
says that,
Yeah.
but I see this happen where once it gets recorded, you got this separate parcel.
And then you're dealing with buyers who then say, oh my God, now I gotta go back to my mortgage company and get.
I got another lot, yeah.
Well, not only another lot, but I've gotta go and deal with all the changes in the paperwork.
So that's
It's a
why it happens.
nightmare.
Yeah. They make it harder.
Can't you
But-
fix that really easy? Merge those lots?
Yeah, you tell them to go get your attorney to write a merging deed.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, the assessor doesn't have the legal authority.
Yeah.
And then the deed changes and the bank says, well, that's not the deed of what we, it just gets crazy. But anyway.
So
Okay.
you, what you
Town
corrected
farm
is at the
cemetery?
time of the next sale.
Oh, I see.
It's just, yeah.
Now,
Okay, Town Farm Cemetery.
Oh, this one's really
where the hell
interesting.
is this one?
Haha.
Where is this one?
So you hit up,
Oh, here's Mount, oh, right there, yeah. I
you
know
know,
where
bottom of the hill,
yeah.
you got Warner Road and you got the East Haddam Fish and Game Club pond to the left.
Mm-hmm.
You start heading up the hill, and there's the little cart path that was
You
Town
can see
Farm
the
Road
old
and
road
looped.
in
You
there,
can see
yeah.
the old road.
There's actually an old foundation right here, too.
And so you walk up there, because you can't drive up there, and you see a
I
stone
didn't know
wall,
there was a cemetery in there.
and you see huge trees.
This is like the back way into the town farm,
Oh, okay.
you know, from down by Warner Road intersection, it winds up
Mm-hmm.
the back.
There's no stones.
No stones, but they know it's
No
a graveyard.
stones.
How do they
So
know?
I
Do they know
said-
who's there?
The people who didn't have no money in the
Oh,
town
that's
farm took
probably
care of
right,
them.
exactly, you're right.
Right.
No records for layout, Las Barrio,
Because this is where the homeless were.
Indigent.
Haddam, no gravestones exist. So I guess we'll just leave that one alone.
So I said,
We don't
Carl,
wanna expand that one.
no, I said, Carl, he said, one of these days the tree's gonna go over, and he goes, yeah, I know, the bones will be exposed, whatever. I was like,
Well, they shouldn't take that attitude.
I said- he goes, they were put in pine boxes, it's probably all disintegrated by now.
Yeah.
It's, natural deal. He said, there was no caskets, there's no markers, I don't even know if there's a record.
This is what happened when you were poor back in the day, huh?
What is that? Is that mid-1800 period? Is that when they
Oh,
were
in,
using?
the last burial was 1933.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, no,
the town
up through
farm
the
was
Depression.
operating in this century, in 1900s, it was operating.
So,
Those fields were open, there were people up there.
And at the top of the hill, it was the town farm. You
Yeah.
didn't have money, you worked on the farm and you got fed and
how about
clothed
the
and
lot,
housed.
like in front of it, what's in there, 2.6 acres?
That's, I tell you, I can't believe this isn't wet.
Oh, it's wet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And ledge.
Ledge
Yeah.
and wet and boulders and everything else.
It'll be the worst soil you ever saw.
Yeah.
Well, this could be one of those ones that are good for the alternative cemeteries.
There you go.
That's right.
Oh, you're right about that.
But now you gotta worry about where the rest of them are.
Who owns
Oh,
this?
oh, I see.
You go to
Who
that.
owns it? That's a good question. That's
Um,
2 point something acres, right?
Yeah. I mean, cause there are those
There
alternative.
is, like, I think it's down right here, right off behind that, between the road and, the existing road is an old foundation there. You see that?
Yeah.
I always used to, when I'm delivering to a site, I'll start counting old foundations as I see them, like I was going out to O'Connor Road Extension. And, there must have been at least a dozen that you could see from the side of the road and you could tell they were houses because they had the center chimney block.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them all over the place. That's a good possibility though for the alternative thing. I
Yeah.
like it.
People like out of
'Cause
the
that-
way, I know it's not near a bar,
Is
but
it buildable?
out of the way.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's
An
buildable.
alternative, like, people that got cremated, so
Yeah, and then they'll like be put near a tree or have a tree planted over them. Bird hop, I mean, it's amazing what people do. And then you go for a walk and
They want their pet buried next to them.
yeah,
or
they
something,
dress it up and they make it like walking trails, but it's also a cemetery.
The one that the VA approved in Maine, piece of woodland, they go in, they dig a hole, they put you in the pine box or a shroud if that's all you want. They drop you in there, they cover it up, they GPS it so that nobody digs it up again, and then they walk away. They
Yep.
let everything grow back. There's no marker, there's no nothing.
Yeah.
So my wife told me that's what I'm getting because it's the cheapest way out.
I don't know, the GPS recordings are expensive, I mean, come on. Or the shroud.
That's an interesting one.
Okay, Old Cold Burial Ground, we'll leave
Yeah.
alone?
Well, that's just one that, I mean,
Yeah.
they could expand, but
Right.
that soils are fantastic, yeah.
First Church Cemetery, they actually own all the way to the corner
Yeah.
too. So
And-
they can expand.
And you look at the visual, you can see that there's more space there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess if you want to get buried, you got to join the church.
Oh, you don't have to join.
No?
No, you can buy a lot.
Money.
Yeah, it's open. So,
Number 15, so that's expandable, huh?
Yeah, yeah, they own all, yeah, like I said, all the way over to Deer Run.
And that's town road or church?
Church.
Millington one is not expandable, I think. Drops off.
Now with the
There's-
house right
Now with
there.
that house
Yeah,
back
you've
there
got the
now.
driveway to the house on that side with the guy right behind him, and then on this side, that got dug out. I don't know why that ever happened years ago, but that did get dug out, and that's, so there's, oh, maybe that's the treat area, is that usable or not?
I think that's because of the views coming.
Oh,
down
that's
from
just,
this
I
angle.
see, okay, yeah, the trees are on the edge, yeah, they're actually on this
I
property.
can't believe they allowed a house back there.
It was part of a previously approved subdivision, and Jim's talking about the cutout on this side. We issued him a cease and desist in the eighties,
Oh.
because the plan was always to come from this side.
Well, the sightline was horrendous. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
Imagine coming out there.
Yeah, I remember that way back. Say, what you doing?
Oh, I don't
Build
remember.
my
how that-
driveway here. Peter Hughes had
He
issue.
was supposed to come in from the west side?
The east side. No, they come in from the east side.
They cut in
We-
an opening from the west, and
We
that's.
stopped them from coming in the west side, because the state
Oh,
of Connecticut
because it's
and,
on the corner.
Oh,
yeah.
it's terrible.
yeah.
But they dug it out so that you couldn't possibly expand that way. There might have been some usable soils there, but not anymore. So that one's a dead ender. That was that.
Like that Foxtown is a small cemetery out there too.
That's
Yeah.
a special site, mountain goat material.
I was gonna say, that's really on a hell of a slope,
You
huh?
look at those contours, it sure looks like a rugged one.
Now, that's,
That's a long way from the bar.
that's where a lot of people would like to go, though, way out, middle of nowhere.
Well, that'd be an alternative burial type thing, you know?
It's a nice spot.
I don't know who owns it. Is this the one that iPark owns all around?
No, yeah, iPark owns all around it, but it's ours.
Okay, yeah, but now that, because of iPark, I mean, he's got 400 acres there.
Right.
And Ralph is the kind of guy that might donate some strip.
Although one time they had a plan in their overall development plan for a cemetery, remember that?
Well, I mean, that looks, I mean, despite that there's an existing cemetery there, that's terrible terrain, as you can look at those contours before
Yeah.
it's cemetery, but.
It's gravelly, rocky soil, cause you gotta remember, right across the road was,
That was gravel. pit.
Schwabi's pit,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
So it's probably
So it's-
well drained, yeah.
yeah, it's very well drained. yeah.
So that's probably, that's a possibility, huh?
But it's on a slope, isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
wicked
it's a
slope.
steep slope.
But it's a dry slope, how's that? Is that a good way to do that?
There may be gravel there.
Versus a.
Versus a humid.
Right.
You gotta
Push
carry
you to
the
the
box
slope
up
so
that
you're
hill.
like standing up on it.
Okay.
That's I
Looked at Foxtown Cemetery one, and the thing about it is iPark owns all around it. So that's a possible, even though it's terrible slope there, kind of, it may be a,
Well, that's true, another one of those alternative ones.
no, nothing fits alternative more than iPark.
Right?
They'd really be into something like
I
that.
might be into that.
Wow, they really would be.
That's a definition.
Jim, can you do me a favor? Can you pull up or look into the alternative
Yeah, I
cemeteries?
did, I actually, I got.
I thought I
some
asked you
information. Yeah,
before.
did. I just didn't compile it all.
No, that's, okay, thank you.
Jewish cemetery, at least I guess.
They just expanded though.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Jewish cemetery,
A couple years ago, we expanded
They
it,
got plenty
we
of
put the
room there.
driveway in for them.
Yeah.
And they had some additional land. They have land on the lower, they own plenty on the low side, but they really need a fill job to make it usable.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just drops off too much. And, but if they wanted to, they could create more usable land.
Muda Cemetery, and, I know St. Bridges is looking for more property.
Correct.
Muda Cemetery has a whole area they haven't even touched yet, the north side.
Yep.
So they're all set.
Jewish cemetery is expandable, 'cause they have.
Yeah, they have a lot of
Mudas?
space there.
Which one's North Moody? So they're right at the top of the hill there?
Yes.
That's full on both sides or what?
Oh, take a look, if you look
No.
at the photo, you can
19.
see.
No.
It's a little wetter.
The south side, this is where, nothing's up here yet. This is all.
Oh, they own that too?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but St. Bridges. Okay, here's a thought for everyone. Back in 1913, Moodus Center burned.
Really?
My grandfather was burying his father that day. And all he sees is the smoke coming out of the center in ashes. Think about that.
Well, they were up there
They
in
were
that
right there
cemetery?
watching
Yeah.
it. And I go up there and I'm like, holy cow. I don't know what the
What a view
old
of
Moodus
What a
looked
view
like
of it, yeah.
before they
Well,
rebuilt it, what we all remember.
Yeah.
And there was a snowstorm the night before and he was stuck on the other side of the river because there wasn't a bridge. The ferry wasn't running. Then it burned, and then he goes into, think about it. It's funny when you hear the history and then,
Yeah, yeah. Here, they were up on the.
and he was
high
only, and he was he was young. No, wait a minute, it could have been 1913. He was 13.
It was earlier than that.
Yeah, he was 1889, so,
Was it 03 when the movie burned?
yeah, must have been, yeah, 03, yes.
It was 03.
And in the 1880s too again. I think it burned twice.
Well, those kerosene
Well, I
lamps,
mean,
you know.
yeah, the thing
Oil
is,
soaked
when you've got
floors.
buildings that are right up next to each other and you have no fire protection at all, I mean, once it gets going, it's just gonna burn
The
right
wood
through.
was
Yeah,
dry.
1903, yeah.
I think I remember seeing pictures of the old Buddhists that
Yeah.
burned. in the-
Could you imagine? I mean, and that, from that, you know, and I'll go up there and I'll look at my great grandfather's, and I'll just stand there and go, wow. Could you imagine burying your father at 13 and seeing the whole town just
Burn.
smoldering?
The world's coming to an end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. He just got back from City Institute in New Jersey.
Patient, huh?
Another one that's very interesting.
Okay, so where the hell is this?
Who's buried here?
This one I know, well, this is another pauper cemetery to a point, and then I guess it started to get it
Oh, this is
infiltrated.
the one on the reservoir.
Reservoir.
Yeah, that was.
Traded with,
People who had money and built real stones and everything else, but there's slaves in here,
Yeah,
there's Indians in
I
here.
remember there's a lot of,
There's also Mr. Chin. Does anybody remember Mr.
No.
Chin?
Who was it?
we
Mr. Chin?
remember.
Yeah, you remember.
No.
He used to be the nicest little guy photographer from New York, and he'd have breakfast at Tommy's.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding, he ended up having himself buried there.
how
Well,
did he
yeah,
get
the
in there?
mafia found him.
Oh, no kidding.
He was hiding in Moodus, and the mafia found him, but he's buried there.
Crossing, you take a right,
Yes, yeah, right there.
take a left.
But there is expand.
Well, not really. Oh no, the Moodus is. Yes,
Moodus
you're
is,
right.
St. Bridget's isn't.
Yeah.
That's pretty much used
thought-
there.
But they don't say that it's,
Bashan is not, right?
but they don't say that it's, closed.
No, there might be a few spots in there
How come they call it Bashan Cemetery when it's on the res?
I know.
because the
Don't ask.
reservoir wasn't there at the time it was
Correct,
created.
okay, that's true, it's all farmland, yeah.
Yeah, and it was could have been Bashan Stream.
Yeah,
don't know.
probably, yeah.
That was all field, and then.
I can't believe that
It
was.
was
a bottom, yeah,
It was a knoll and
In
they,
the old days.
Oh, it had to be.
full of beavers.
Cause if you could dam up what we have, that small dam, and it's all the way back up to, you know,
Yeah.
BB Road.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the beavers must have had a field day in there?
There's not a when they was drained out, you could really kind of get a lay of the land. There was not a lot of stone walls down there depicting fields and all that.
Oh, no, it was too wet.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
wetlands.
Too wet.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you this, is this a cemetery we would wanna reopen?
I think it technically is available.
Still
Does it say?
open.
You think it's still open?
Maybe.
Okay, so we
We
need
should
to look
look into
into
that.
that, finding out, on town records whether or not because some of the town, the way that Mildred told me that all town cemeteries are full, whether or not they're actually in the, buried, but all the lots were sold.
Oh,
So we'd have to look into that.
Yeah, because I know the story about Smith Road one, or the Mount Parnassus Cemetery. Jimmy Way comes sputtering one day. He goes, "What an idiot my uncle is." I go, "What?" He goes, "Want to hear about a great Christmas gift? He bought us all plots." And he goes, he got panicked. He goes, because we were running out of plots, so he bought everybody in the family a plot.
wow.
There you go.
Well, there's a time when that's a
And
good
he
thing.
goes, "Not at Christmas."
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Should have been Easter.
Yeah.
Good Easter gift.
Hope of a resurrection, anyway.
Then you have the Aspen Hill Cemetery Association. That's still in use.
Where is this one?
Oh, this one's amazing.
Howard House Road.
Oh, that's pretty big.
You know where Ed Thoralt's father lives? On the corner?
No. Let's see, Powerhouse, okay, let me just, where?
Up where Mrs. Root.
Oh, right there?
Right
Oh, yeah.
back, her backyard.
Oh, no kidding, huh?
That
Yeah.
looks pretty big still,
Yeah, that's sizable.
but it's privately owned, so.
Well, some of it looks, the corners of it look like you're not burying anybody there, right? That's all sand, though.
It is listed here as the, owned by Bassin Hill Cemetery Association. Can we look into,
Probably now is Terry Hood.
Yeah, right.
can
That's
you look into that?
yeah. I'll ask her. I mean, but I think she's the
I bet you she may be the lone member.
might be
Yeah.
because she was talking about
Yeah,
how
I've
her
never
father.
seen that cemetery.
That would be
Yeah,
Bailey.
you'll look into, let's find out, we'll have to
Yeah.
dig into a lot of the, I think there's still a lot of land, a lot of places in town.
Yeah,
There's
and
room.
that's nice land in there.
Is there
There's room up there.
Well, it's a pile of sand, so that's
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
high and dry, that's for sure.
Yep.
But, I mean, the corners look like they drop off pretty steeply, but, hey, the rest of it may not be.
Is there public access to that?
You can walk right up the between
That
the
right
roadways
away?
there.
That
Yeah.
must be the driveway to somebody's house too.
Those
then,
guys
right?
won't shoot us or anything?
No, I
I'm
didn't
assuming
get
you
you.
go right up in the. that'd be
Oh,
it.
then there's a trail, you can see it, yeah.
Yeah,
I've never been in that one.
Yeah, no.
Never
that's-
heard of Basin Hill either.
No, that's the new one to me.
Okay, that's a maybe.
okay. And then Ackley Cemetery, also known as Long Pond.
Ackley, okay. Ackley,
So Ackley's wrapped with roads all
yeah,
the way
it's
around it.
completely wrapped in a, as
No
far as
longer
the
in
cemetery
use.
itself, no, maybe nearby somebody could do something, but there's nothing.
Is that full?
There's a lot of stones in there and it's old, so I don't know that it's full. Well, we looked in there when we were working out there and a lot of old stuff,
A lot of
but,
old stuff and a lot of unmarked stuff.
you know,
That's
that may
scary.
be the issue, is somebody would have to try and figure out, is there a map of these
The plots themselves.
Because maybe
Well, there is a way to
not.
figure it out. Carl was telling me. You take samples, you take a
Oh, they
a
could
pole, and you take a sample of the oil, of the, you push it into the ground, and if it's loosely packed, then it's used. If it's packed, then it wasn't used.
Virgin ground.
Yeah, I'm
With
not
ground
doing that.
penetrating.
Well, that's what you have to do.
Well, they've got ground penetrating radar.
Yeah, that
probably.
doesn't sound
Yeah, that's
very
probably-
scientific.
I mean, we may have to go around and do some of that.
I hit a rock.
Maybe there's useful area.
So is Ackley Cemetery a question? One to at least
I mean,
look
if you
at?
grow up out there, you might wanna be buried there, let's face it.
It's not in use anymore and it's too small.
Well, the thing is, if we were to look at some of these cemeteries that are not well marked, like for instance, the Bashan one, you might have to hire somebody to go out and make sure that, is it used or not? I mean, because,
Yeah.
I mean, for all you know, the whole one corner of it is completely open, it could be a usable plot.
You need an association.
When did they start using vaults? Cement vaults for burials? I mean, that's a new thing?
Well, it is, because basically, you know, the old wooden ones used to
Okay,
through, and
Correct.
then you'd have all the depressions in the
Right.
cemetery.
Yeah.
And so especially the ones that are closer to the cities, they did it probably back in the thirties and forties. But I don't know out here, when they would have started to do these small, especially these private cemeteries.
Nothing.
You know, there's no rules or any of those.
Just wooden
No
boxes.
rules.
I mean, until they had hydraulic power to set these vaults and all that, how could they be doing it? They
Well,
couldn't.
people still are buried in wooden boxes.
They would've had to pour the vault in place,
My uncle was.
if they weren't doing it.
It's not legal in some towns, I mean.
That's kind of an antiquated thing too, because they all got this hysteria that smallpox and all the other diseases, or you gotta be buried in these vaults because it's gonna get into the groundwater and we're gonna die from it. They've gotten away from that sense.
Well, the vaults became popular as soon as Jim says, it was, you could pick them up and down, and then it's just a selling job. You don't want the worms getting it, Grandpa, do you? And so it's only another $2,000.
Yeah,
I
right.
want my bell. I want my bell. So just in case. Ding, 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 ding.
I was just thinking about the breathing tube. You never know. They're out there.
If not that, pack me with a pint at least, please.
Oh, we went through all of them, that's pretty good.
Okay, so you have a list of, you'll get
Yeah,
back
odds and
into it?
ends, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, make a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
You have an interesting meeting here, talking about cemeteries. That's interesting.
So Jim, could you ask this guy Mike, how
Most
many
exciting
cemeteries-
meeting all year here.